This episode of the podcast is brought to you by K9s. Crack open a K9s organic yerba mate and power through your day with 160 milligrams of caffeine that won't cause crashes. It won't cause the jitters like coffee and some of the other energy drinks might do. Now, K9s recently launched a new line as well of non-carbonated yerba mate drinks in 4 amazing flavors. And I think I said this last week, but I got to reinforce it, man. My 2 favorites out of the 2 new ones, the lemonade and tea, which some of you might know is the old classic. They don't, K9s doesn't call it the Arnold Palmer, but that's what I would refer to, the old lemonade and tea. And then also the mint and honey, which I was quite surprised was very, very good. So be sure to try both of those. Each can is sweetened with organic cane sugar. There's no artificial preservatives or sweeteners. Here's the best part. Every sip makes a difference in the fight against addiction. And so we don't only partner with K9s just because we like the drinks, which of course we do, but K9s donates 50% of their net profits to support individuals in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. So it's just a great company. They'll ship a case right to your door. So you don't have to go to the store. You can find them in all different stores around you too. But you go on there and you go on the website, go to K9s.com. And take advantage of this limited time offer for this month's Sober Guy listeners. They're giving 25% off your subscription for life. So all you got to do is use the promo code SOBER. Grab a boost, live better, transform lives. Go to K9s.com, enter the promo code SOBER at checkout, save 25%, and get that case of K9s shipped directly to your door.
That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today. You can find more podcasts, more resources, and also contact us by going to thatsoberguy.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. All the links from today's show will be in the show notes, so they're easy for you to find. Shout out to Humans Music, coming to us all the way from Canada. If you like the intro, be sure to check those guys out. Humans Music. You can find them on all the major music platforms. Great friends of the show. Got some great jams. Our guest today is Jason Howe. Jason is the director for K9s on the Front Line. He's also a combat veteran of the U.S. Navy. And after being diagnosed with PTSD and facing struggles with reintegration, he turned to drugs to cope. He's now a best-selling author and recently launched his first book titled Unleashed, The Powerfully Simple Path to Adapt and Overcome Trauma, Addiction, and the Silent Battle with Mental Illness. The story of defying the odds empowers those he serves through his nonprofit, through speaking and also consulting. And we'll talk a little bit about all that stuff today. Jason, coming to us all the way from Missouri, my friend. It's great to be with you today, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man, it's great to be here. And, it's an honor to be on your show. I love what you do. And I'm just glad to be a part of it and try to help others. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Sorry, it cut out. Our connection was a little bit choppy there for a quick second, but I think we're back and okay. But yeah, man, it's really an honor to have you on. Like we chatted briefly before we started recording. I just appreciate you, man, and appreciate your service. Thanks for serving our country, and for all the great work that you and your team are doing, today. And I think maybe a great way. Well, first of all, let me start with this. On October 22nd. Which is coming up soon, man. You're going to have 7 years of continuous sobriety. So congratulations on that, man.
Thanks, brother. It's been a journey, and, I'm just glad to be on this side of the fence now and being able to help others that are struggling as well. Yeah, definitely. Let's just dive in and maybe those for those out there listening, give us a little background about yourself. Where you're from and what led you up to this point today. So yeah, I'm originally from Maine, and I grew up playing sports, baseball, hockey, and football, and kind of was going nowhere. Went into a little bit of experimental drugs with cocaine and meth, or not cocaine and meth, but cocaine and marijuana, and decided to join the military. So I moved back home to Maine, joined, did 5 years in the military, 2 deployments, 1 to Afghanistan and 1 to Iraq. I met my ex-wife now, who we have 2 kids together, met her in the military, and
She was from a little teeny town in Missouri called Westphalia, and I think I've seen more cows and pigs than I have people. But I love the country now. But you know, I got back here and I ran into a lot of trouble. So,
what was what? And feel free to dive as deep, or if you don't, if you're not up to this, it's totally cool too. But I'm just curious, like what Afghanistan, what Iraq was like for you.
A lot of stress, a lot of tension, always being on alert, always being on guard, never know if you're going home. The best thing to do is pray every day that, you know, God will bring us home. So some of us came home, some of us didn't. So mine's more of the seeing my brothers die in front of me and kind of, you know, struggling with that and not being able to handle it and taking it upon myself to take away the pain and the struggles that I had.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I talk about this often, the ability to use a tool like alcohol or drugs or, you know, some sort of substance to escape and not have to feel. And so did you find yourself in that, you know, in that boat per se, like, man, like this is just difficult and I don't want to feel it. So I'm going to turn to, you know, drinking or using drugs.
Absolutely. You know, it was more like we were always on the go. So that adrenaline was always pumping. So when I got cocaine or, you know, meth into my system, I felt like back overseas fighting a war, and I was, you know, my adrenaline was pumping and everything. And it gave me exactly what I needed. So I didn't have to feel anymore.
Do you hear that a lot from first responders who are even back home, maybe police officers, firefighters, anyone who kind of has that high intense, high adrenaline based job? And obviously I know not every hour of the workday is like that, but there's certain blocks of it where you're probably going from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. Do you work with a lot of people that are dealing with that too?
Yes, I work with a lot of law enforcement officers, a lot of you know, fire department, you know, paramedics and stuff.
Yeah.
Just recope because, like you said, when you have that moment when you're going from 0 to 100, it's hard to shut it off.
Yeah.
So you're always looking for that. It's like that itch that you're trying to find, and you know, it's just like the drug. You're never going to get that top hit again and get that high again. You're always going to keep searching for it. So
yeah. How do you counter that? I imagine it doesn't happen overnight, number one. I mean, there's probably a lot that goes into it and a lot of work and like anything, a practice. But what are some things that you found to help? You know, obviously you just wrote a book too, which we'll talk about a little later. But, you know, I know for me, like, and I hear this from a lot of other people, that writing, you know, it's also a creative outlet, but it also helps to get some of that stuff out that maybe we bury down or we don't want to necessarily talk about. What are some of the tools that you suggest or that you've seen other people use that help?
So for one is, you know, listen to podcasts like yours. It gives you a lot of motivation, a lot of different avenues that you can take to kind of change your life around and restructure how you want. Mine was my service dog. I would never leave my house. I was always having the curtains closed. I would just, you know, keep using drugs, and she got me out of my house. But a lot of it's, you know, being vulnerable, letting people know, hey, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
You know, as men, you know, we've grown up and it's been engraved in our heads. Don't talk about it. Just deal with it. Suck it up. Move on. Well, there's times that you can't suck it up and move on, and you got to talk about it, because what happens is we go back into the drugs or we go back into drinking, or, you know, that mental illness really kicks our ass.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes we just like, it's funny, like even I've obviously done a lot of work and continue to do that, you know, a practice of just trying to live a better life and communicate. And there's times like still where I just don't want to talk about stuff. And I know, like, I know what the right thing to do is. I know, like, that I need to talk about this, but I just don't want to. And it's really hard to sometimes. So, like, I feel anyone listening out there, like, you know, well, you know, it sounds easier said. And I'm sure, I mean, can you relate to that too?
Oh, absolutely. This stuff I still don't want to talk about. But,
yeah,
you know, over the years of continually talking and kind of working on myself, it's gotten easier. It doesn't mean it's perfect, and I don't think we'll ever be. Nobody is. But the only thing we can do each day, each second of the time, each moment at a time is continue to try to work on what our struggles are and really dig deep on what's finding problem going on.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned your service dog too. It's so amazing to me, like how, how powerful the connection is between, a dog, or, just, there's something that is so therapeutic about it, about having that relationship. And that, I guess for me, like, our dog, he passed away about almost a year ago, but man, he was just such a great part of our family. And he was, it's like endless, non-judgmental love on a daily basis. No matter how shitty my day was, like, he doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, he's just happy to see me, and it was just so, it's just so awesome. And so I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about your service dog and like kind of how that helped you, and how it might be able to help others out there too if they're struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was 2 days away from being euthanized in a kill shelter in Georgia. And the organization K9s on the Frontline rescued her, gave her to me. But it's one of those things, like, she was on her, rock bottom. I was too. And she's now been saved. And it was like, when we first met, she looked at me, came running around, jumped up on me, and she was like, I got you. You're going to change your life. You just don't know it yet. And it's just cool. Every time we go anywhere or anything we do, she is so excited to go. She's excited to be with me. If there's times that I have to leave her home for something and I come back, she is so excited, just happy. And it just makes you in a better mood because, they on the unconscious level or unconscious state, and you don't even know, like, if you're stressed out, they're like, no, you're not going to be stressed out very long. I have you. Yeah. You're going to get in a better mood. It's just really cool to see what a dog can do to really bring you out of a funk.
Yeah, totally. I crack up too, because there'd be times like I'll go to the store. Let's just say I'll go to the store to grab some milk. Like, the store's right down the street, right? And leave, and then come back, and our dog's name was Brody. Brody would be so damn happy to see, like, he hadn't saw me in months. Like, I was gone for 5 minutes. Like, come on, dude. And just so excited, man. And it's just like, it's so genuine, and it makes you feel so good, and just kind of let go of all the stupid stuff that we don't have control over, and realize and remember that a connection and love is really, the most powerful thing and healing thing at the same time too.
Absolutely. And that's what she's done to me. She's taught me how to be real and be human again. And she's also taught me unconditional love. Yeah. So, because of her, I'm now married. We have, a blended family, and it's just been actually really incredible where my life was to where it is now. Just by working the steps and having a dog kind of be there for me to help me get to that point, so I can kind of take care of myself. So
yeah. So let me back up again, and because I kind of derailed us, but I just love just chopping it up a little bit too. But I want to hear more. So you go off to join the military. I think you said you did 5 years, a couple different tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. When you get home, like, what kind of happens next as you kind of reintegrate back into civilian life and try to figure it out?
Yeah, so I came back to Missouri, where my wife at the time was from, and I knew absolutely nobody. And not knowing anybody, and also dealing with PTS, post-traumatic stress, it's very difficult. You're in a town, in an area that you know absolutely nobody. And I went through a quick divorce. My kids were 1 and 3 at the time, so I absolutely knew nobody. And I just started struggling. I didn't know what to do, and it just got to be boredom. Didn't want to open the curtains, didn't want to go outside. I'm like, I'm going to hibernate inside of my house, because this is when I know I'm safe. I don't want to go down the road and see trash on the road, knowing what I just came home from, going, is that a bomb? Is that IED? Or is that, real trash? Obviously, we know around here it's just trash, but that mindset when you come home, it's a struggle to reintegrate into society. People look at you weird, something's wrong with this person. No, I'm struggling. What started it was I went to the VA hospital and got prescribed pain pills and, mental health pills. That wasn't doing it for me. So I took it upon myself to say, hey, I've done cocaine before, so I know what that feels like. You'll see if that helps me. And it went downhill. And then it began, digging into meth a little bit here and there. And then the needles came, and not wanting to be here anymore, wanting to die, just go away. And
yeah,
grace of God, I've had a lot of spiritual awakenings, and it's really kind of helped me get to where I'm at.
Yeah. So man, so you really went down the domino effect, I guess, is, I don't know what I'll refer to it as in this moment, but just like one thing after another, it led to just being in a place of, it sounds like pure just defeat and desperation. And like, was there a specific moment that God spoke to you, or that you had a spiritual awakening, that like, what was that finally made you kind of turn a page and start on a different path?
Yeah. So it's a cool story. I mean, obviously cool story now, but
yeah,
I had lost house, lost jobs. I was, homeless and trying to get into a rehab center in Kansas. Ended up relapsing over there. They kicked me out. So I had a car still, because it hadn't been repoed yet. They were searching for me. So I'm sitting in a parking lot, and the word Superior was in front of me. And the two letters, it was a stormy night, so I was listening to some Christian music, just listening to whatever I could think of to help me, motivate me to figure out what I could do.
Yeah.
And I just asked, I said, can you give me a sign? Give me a sign on what to do. And the two letters that were not lit up were ER, out of Superior. And so where the eye of the storm was over the VA hospital. So I went to the VA hospital. They couldn't get me in there at 2 a.m. So they put me up in a homeless shelter, and ended up, sleeping there. Well, didn't want to be there, but it was the only place I had that time. And just the next day, I went to McDonald's. I had probably $10 to my name. Got a little sandwich, was just trying to, survive. And the guy that was at the homeless shelter that checked me in, he happened to be behind me. And this gentleman was with him. He's like, hey, you want to eat breakfast with us? Sure. So he started talking all Bible stuff and praying, and he handed me $100 bill. And I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm a drug addict. You know this. Well, I didn't know that, but God told me this morning that I needed to help somebody, and you're that person that is in my path. I said, all right. So they asked me what I wanted to do. I went and got a little bit of groceries, just enough to snack on and stuff. And I wanted to sleep out near the river. I grew up in Maine on a pond, so being out in nature just kind of helped me, breathe and relax and kind of clear my mind a little bit. After that, I ended up going back to Missouri, and I told my ex-wife, I said, I'm getting on a bus and I'm going home to Maine. I'm going to fix myself. My parents didn't think it was the right decision, thought it was dumb. I needed to go to rehab. So I had to keep working the plan and working what I was doing. Yeah. And that's when I read the organization K9s on the front line, and stayed sober, listening to a bunch of podcasts, just listen to music that kind of helped me during the struggling times to get me through what I needed to get through.
Wow. So you ended up back in Maine to go.
Yeah. Home for about a year. I left my kids here in Missouri. Once I graduated the service dog program with my service dog, I said, I'm coming back to Missouri. I'm going to be with my kids, but I'm going to start the program in Missouri. So my wife and I will actually be taking over the entire organization. We've been running here since 2018. So it's a really good feeling, and, almost 7 years clean. And in a couple weeks. So it's really cool to see where I was to where I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats on starting. So basically you took K9s on the front line, which was, and I'm just trying to kind of talk out loud and so I understand correctly, like it was an organization in Maine, and then you took it and opened up a chapter of it or a branch of it in Missouri. And now that's where it's established and growing, and you guys are going to take over the whole thing out there.
Helped about 200 veterans in dogs since 2018. So
that's amazing, man.
We'll be able to keep growing, hopefully, and help even more.
Isn't it crazy, man? Like what God does when we just do the next right thing. Like, we live in this world of, and I'm guilty of it too. So I'm not judging anyone or saying anything, but like, I feel like I've gotten better at it. I'm grateful for that, but just being mindful of it is a task sometimes. Like,
on the go. Like, I need to do this. I need to do that. I got, you know, I got to get here, or I should be there. I shoulda, woulda, coulda, all that stuff. Or we beat ourselves up too. Like, why didn't I do it this way? Or I'm a piece of crap or whatever. And like all of that stuff. Yeah. And all of that stuff is up here. And most of it is complete bullshit at the end of the day. Like, it's really like when we just focus on doing the next right thing, God opens those doors and things happen. And, like even the guy that you met in the McDonald's, like how crazy, do you ever talk to that dude, by the way? Or do you stay in touch with him?
I go to the homeless shelter and hope I can find that guy again, because I just want to tell him what he's done for me.
Yeah, that would be so cool. If you ever do end up connecting with him, man, like I would love to hear what, I mean, cause that's, you know, that's a total God moment right there. Like that's, and that really, you know, that changed the trajectory of your whole path. I mean, at least the way that's how I take it.
Some stranger believed in me and, dude, you know, handed $100 bill, you know, handing a drug addict $100 bill.
Yeah.
In the past, just walked out and found the next dealer and, you know, spent that $100 and, you know, shot up again.
Yeah.
But what he said to me that day was just so inspiring and real. I said, man, this guy believes in me. I can't use this for drugs. I've got to, you know, get home to Maine. I need to get home and, you know, grab a little bit of food, just keep the money until you can keep growing it. So,
yeah. That's and to me, like when I hear that, that is an example of the power of God to me, the power of, connecting, and like he was obedient in what God told him to do that morning, and God was speaking to you through him. And then you were obedient in the path of like, I got to try to do the next right thing, you know? And man, so that's just cool, man. Thanks for sharing a bit of that. You know, I hope that someone out there listening can find some hope in that too. If you're struggling, you know, like there's always hope. Like don't quit, don't give up. You know, and just try to do the next right thing. And when you do that, God works, and it's crazy. I don't get it. And the more I try to understand it, the less I do.
Yes. So I just gotta go with it. When it comes, you take it, and you know, to wake up every morning and, you know, we pray and, you know, just thank God for giving us another day that, you know, we're here on earth. So
yeah. So I want to get into to the ADAPT framework. We're going to talk about the stigma of mental illness, and then forgiveness, which is just such a great topic. Before we dive into those, just can you take a couple of minutes and just kind of tell us what it's like today for you, for your family, like what this means?
It means a lot. You know, it's still a daily struggle every week. You know, every moment we're alive, we're still struggling. But where I was wanting to die, not wanting to be here, my biggest thing is teaching my kids and being the dad that they need me to be now, and letting them know things happen in life. Once you overcome, it's what you do after that. You know, mistakes happen. So just living that model life for my kids so they can understand, hey, I can talk to dad if I make a mistake. He's not going to, you know, punish me. You know, I grew up, I couldn't talk to my dad. It was more just suck it up, move on, things will get better.
Yeah.
But I don't want my kids to be that way. I want my kids to be, hey, we can talk to dad. He's going to help us. He's going to work with us. And if we make a mistake, we're going to figure out what we need to do to change that. So the way my life is now is I could never imagine it. So I never, you know, 7 years ago, I never would have said, yeah, I'm the director of an organization providing service dogs to veterans. Never in a million years would have said I'm an author. So, you know, it's been a journey, and I'm just so glad to be on this side of the journey now. And, you know, I give a lot of my, you know, all my thanks and thanks to God. God put me where I was at, but I had to do the work too. So.
Amen to that. I love it. Man, it's so cool. Hey, it's kind of a random question here, but just popped into my head. Do you follow Mike Glover, American Contingency, any of those guys?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Love those dudes. I love that organization. Man, I don't know. Maybe that's a connection for you, you know, to somehow integrate, you know, some of the work that you're doing or whatever, man. Cause they're doing all kinds of great stuff too. And I just see, you know, K9s on the front line. What a great organization to help others, you know?
Absolutely.
So let's kind of talk about this adapt framework that you use to help others with stuff that they're going through in their own life. So like for someone out there listening, like just tell us a little bit about what you do and how that works. And then we'll talk about how they might be able to get in touch with you, or if they have a loved one who might need help or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. So, Adapt and Overcome came from my military experience, and that's, that was what the military instilled in us. So it's an acronym. The first A is acknowledge. So when you're going through your struggles, I had to reverse engineer and try to figure out what I did to recover. And the first thing was I had to acknowledge I had an issue. A lot of us go through sobriety or go through alcoholism or drug addiction, and we're not aware. No, I'm fine. I can put it down. So the first step is acknowledging. The next one is decide. Decide to make that change. Things are also going to come up in life where the next letter is A, is aware. You got to be aware. So, you have triggers out there. You go to a grocery store or a gas station, what do you see? You see cigarettes, you see alcohol.
Yeah.
So those triggers are there, especially for the alcoholics and stuff that are always there. They're more susceptible to seeing that all the time. So you have to be aware of the triggers. And the next is being persistent. If you want it bad enough, you're going to persist to overcome whatever your challenges are at that point in time. And then the last one is taking the stairs. There's no way to, no elevators to success is, without taking the stairs first. So
I like it.
There's just those things I wrote up and I said, this is what I did when I went through it. So I'm going to write up. So.
Yeah. And it's great. I mean, you can break down each part of that and really apply it to different situations and different parts of life. And I love taking the stairs too, because it's like, it's such a simple way to put it, but that kind of analogy applies to so many things in life, because especially in today's culture, we want everything now. Like 30 seconds is too long to hold somebody's attention. I feel like, we just want to immediately be sober for 10 years. We immediately want to be fit. We immediately want our marriage to be perfect. We immediately want to be great, successful business. Like it doesn't work like that. It takes practice. It takes a lot of fail. Like most of the people who are successful, they failed so many times before, but they didn't quit. They kept going. And I think that is a great way to put it, just to put it so simple like that. Like take the stairs, man.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, when you take an elevator of life, what happens? What if the power goes out? Well, you're stuck in that elevator with no way out. So at least with the stairs, you fall down, you pick yourself back up, you take that step forward, and you keep on climbing until you get to where you want to be, and then figure out something else and keep on climbing.
Yeah. So how do we change mindset? And then how do we break stigma around mental illness?
So the mindset is, it's obviously we can help so many people every day, right? But if they're not helping themselves and they're not changing their mind and wanting to do it, it's almost impossible to help them. A lot of people tried to help. I'm sure people tried to help you. People tried to help me, and I just was not ready.
Yeah.
That, the beginning stage of aware and decide. Yes, I'm aware now that I have a problem. What am I going to do to fix that? So I'm going to decide to change. Heck, that's, that whole adapt framework can be used for anything. If you go to eat McDonald's every day, you're aware that you have a problem with McDonald's fetish. And what am I going to do? I'm going to decide I don't want McDonald's anymore because it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But it all starts with the person on the inside. And I think the more and more we talk about it, stuff like this, the better off people are going to be in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Man, when you're talking about eating McDonald's every day, do you remember that documentary that guy did where he just ate McDonald's for like 30 days in a row?
Is that what it was?
What's that? Supersize Me. Yeah. Yep. That's it. And I just remember like on day, 20 something, he was just like, he looked green. He was just like, he was just slow. And oh man, that just sounds terrible. Oh man, that's funny though. Yeah. So my mindset though, man. Yeah. That's such a big one. And I think like for me, mindset, it starts with just being conscious of stuff. Like, cause we're on overdrive and we're on autopilot so often, I feel like, and like, it's hard even sometimes. Like I have to remind myself, like, okay, am I operating out of like being mindful and conscious, or am I operating right now out of just on autopilot and like real in the flesh? And I've been noticing that when I have bouts of like anxiety, or I start to feel overwhelmed, or I get, and all of it's based on, it comes back to fear, you know, but all those times, and then it could go on for a couple of days. I can't remember, I was just talking about this on something on another podcast or something, but like it could go on for days, and then all of a sudden something will happen and I'll go, oh yeah, like I don't have to do this. Like I'm not conscious right now. And it like snaps out of it. And then I'm back to like mindfulness and back into the mindset, and a lot of that anxiety and stuff starts to clear. What's your take on just like consciousness? And, you know, I know you've been around the world, you've seen a lot of different stuff, and, you know, being in a God-led dude too, like what does that look like for you?
Yes. You know, I always like try to use the phrase, a lot of it's in our frontal cortex in our brain. And, you know, it's so easy for it to go in our back of our brain, and it's that fight or flight method. And if we're not being cautious of it every second of the day, we're going to go in the back of our brain 24/7. Mm-hmm. So it's developing that habit of being in the front of your brain and using the front of your brain to make those conscious decisions. We know right from wrong, but we have to be conscious of every single time where, you know, somebody makes us mad, and I'm guilty of it. I just had this not too long ago about my service dog. She's a pit bull mix, and that breed right there has bad reputation. And I snapped. You know, I got cranky with him. I smarted off something I shouldn't have. Instead of just going, all right, just walk away. They don't know what they're talking about. So it's one of those ongoing battles. You know, we're all humans. I'm not perfect. You aren't. Nobody is. But if we're working on that every single day to improve ourselves, we're going to overcome that stuff in time. Yeah. It's going to become a habit, routine.
Yeah. It does. It becomes a habit. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a practice. And I think that's a great segue into forgiveness, you know, right now, and forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, forgiving past, you know, stuff that may have happened to us, or maybe that we did ourselves. What's been the biggest, you know, part or difficult part for you of forgiveness, and give us your take on that.
So I'd have to say, you know, like when I was 10 years old, my parents went through a horrible divorce, and I felt like a ping pong ball. So growing up, I never talked about it. It was just, you know, I'd hear my parents talk about each other, and I'd move on. And then when the military happened, everything I witnessed there, just still didn't talk about it. And that's, you know, when I started struggling. Once I started going into a program called the Purpose Company, it was, you know, I read the book, you know, talked about my origin story. Where did my struggles start, you know? So it started with my childhood, having that little bit of trauma that I never dealt with, along with being, you know, adopted as a young kid, not having that, you know, love and compassion that I needed. So I'm losing my train of thought. Where was I at? What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's okay, man. You're doing great. Like, I just kind of wanted to hear like your take on forgiveness. And you were talking a little bit about that ability to, or non-ability really, to communicate and to talk about stuff. And it sounded like you were kind of going into maybe having some resentments and misunderstandings about all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I got lost track of what I was saying.
That's okay.
Yeah. All that stuff, I had it built up inside of me, and I never worked on it. So everything was always, you know, that victim mentality was, everything was against me, when it really wasn't. It was just, that was part of life that I never talked about and never dealt with. So I always blamed everybody else. And it was that it's not my fault, it's yours. You know how they have that saying is, every time you point a finger at someone, you got three pointing back to you.
Yeah.
It was that. And until I could start working on that, going, okay, so they went through a divorce. Many people go through a divorce. You know, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. You're kind of dealing with it that way, and just, you know, learning to forgive that people make mistakes. So once I realized, hey, I made a mistake, but it's not what defines me now, because I've changed that part of my life, and now I'm doing different things to move forward. So,
man, and I've talked about this many times on the show in my own experience and then with others, but that victim mentality that you brought up, and man, that thing will absolutely destroy you. It will destroy, everything that you can have aspirations to do and be and become. And when you sit in that, it's miserable, So, how did you get out of that victim mentality? Just, was there anything specific, or at least being conscious of it, I guess, is a start?
Being honest with myself. Once I started being honest with myself and being honest with people around me, things started to change.
Yeah.
When we're going through addiction phase, we're lying, we're cheating, we're stealing. And once you're starting to be honest with everything that you're doing, it just becomes a habit and a routine of being honest about everything in my life. So if I'm screwing up, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna give it a name and define what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
How do I fix it?
Yeah, that's good. We just got a few minutes left. I wanted to talk a little bit about K9s on the front line. Like, tell us a little bit about the organization. What do you guys, how does the process work? And then where could folks reach out if they were interested in getting in contact with you and getting more info?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we provide, we pair veterans with primarily rescue dogs, saving 2 lives at the same time. We put them in a program for 20 to 22 weeks, teaching them everything they need to know about their dog. And the veteran pays nothing. So we do fundraisers. We just had an event at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri.
Nice.
A couple of weeks ago, and it did very well for us. So it's just, it's putting them through the program, but it's a peer support group too. The veterans are all there together. So if they're struggling, it's just like a group session, group therapy session, where if you struggle, we're here for you. Yeah. It's a brotherhood. It's a band of brothers.
I love it. And maybe we can talk a little bit more offline about this, but I'm just thinking, we get emails and, I talk to folks who are veterans who sometimes don't know where to go. I'd love to put K9s on the front line, like on our resources page, and then have stay in contact with you. So if anyone does reach out, like that's a solid resource, and I can get you guys connected or whatever, if that's cool.
That would be awesome. Right now we're in the transition of the Facebook or for our website. As far as it's a lot of its main, but if they want to find us on Facebook, it's, facebook.com/Mo, K, the letter K, number 9, S is in Sam, OTFL. So on the front line.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think, I'm just double checking. I think you sent the link to, yep, I see it there. So I'll make sure that all those links are in the show notes for anyone listening, so they're real easy for you to find too. Before we wrap up too, obviously I mentioned in the intro, man, you just wrote your first book, Unleashed, The Powerfully Simple Path to Adapt and Overcome Trauma, Addiction, and the Silent Battle with Mental Illness. Give us a little take on that. What should folks expect with it? And then where could they find that?
You can find it on Amazon, or you can go to the website unleash-mentalillness.com. I am very real in there. I'm very raw. I don't hold anything back. I admit everything that I did in my life that brought me to that. But I also put in there on, what I did to hurt my kids, but how I dug myself out of the depths of addiction to get to where I'm at now. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Love it, man. I love it. I'm with you in that one too. All right. Last question for you. And I'd really like to speak to, any veterans, any first responders out there listening right now, because I know that we do have a lot who listen to this show. If someone's struggling right now, Jason, like what would you tell them? What could they do? What advice would you have for them?
Don't give up. It's not a race. I like to use a phrase, be the turtle. We always we want things so much right now, but life's not going to happen like that. It took you a long time to dig yourself into that hole. It's going to take you a while to get yourself out. Don't give up. Reach out, talk to people that have been through it. They can help you. And, ask yourself what you can do right now to adapt and overcome to get yourself where you need to be in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. Thank you. One quick thing too, so if somebody wanted to connect about K9s on the front line, do they have to be in Missouri, or can they be anywhere basically and still do the program?
We are working on that right now. They don't have to be in Missouri. It's something that if I can't help them, I have organizations that I know in different states that will be able to help them. So I'm definitely a resource to help people. Last thing I want to do is leave a brother behind. So
yeah,
I would do what I need to do to find out what we can do to get them help.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, hey dude, you're a great man, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate your service and all the work that you're doing. Keep it up, man. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Appreciate you having me. It's been an honor to be here, and keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope something spoke to you. Share the podcast with a friend. You can connect with us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. We'll put all the links today in the show notes, so they're very easy for you to find for Jason's book, as well as K9s on the front line. Love you guys. Peace, love, and respect. Keep your blood clean.